Hey, and welcome to Final Guys, an episode of the so special you can only do it one time, like birth, death, losing a cherry, or seeing Jack Campese naked. This is episode 13. We are going to dive into the Wandaverse and Annabelle creation, and maybe Jack's crackation. Who knows? Hi, guys. I'm joined by my co-host. I'm Hunter Shea. I'm with Jack Campese, who has his clothes on.
You are an idiot.
And also, I'm cutting you off. Author, extraordinaire, douchebag, unparalleled, Jason Brandt.
I gotta say, I was not expecting a dig in the first sentence. That's like a new low for the show. Well done.
Thank you very much. I didn't even think of it ahead of time. It just came naturally.
So, have you been committed, or is it after the show?
It's after the show. For those of you who can't see, I'm wearing my peace sunglasses in honor of what the hell's going on in this world. We just need to love each other the way Jack loves blow-up dolls that look like Annabelle.
I prefer the Miley Cyrus model.
I did buy you that for your birthday one year. I remember. So before we get into the loveliness of Annabelle, Jack, I know that there's horror news out there.
I got some news.
Got some news.
First of all, other things that you can only do once. Let's remember the Daffy Duck trick where he drinks the nitroglycerin and the dynamite and everything blows up. But he can only do it once.
Swallow.
Do you want the really annoying news first? Of course you do. What do we really not need?
Just about anything that Hollywood can cook up.
That's true, but how about a Munsters reboot yet again?
What?
Yep. So first, does anybody remember that it was like a one-shot reboot they tried to do of the Munsters? I think it was 2012. It had Jerry O'Connell and Portia de Rossi and Eddie Izzard. It was called 1313, or was this called Mockingbird Lane, I think.
Oh, God, no.
They tried to do a reboot. If you look it up on YouTube, you can find it. And what they tried to do an update of the Munsters. It was god-awful. It was going to be a series, but they just did a special. Well, now Seth Meyers and some other folks are working on a reboot of the series. Let's see. It's instead of taking place in California, now it's going to take place in modern Brooklyn, where they're going to encounter a hipster neighborhood.
Is Grandpa going to be making craft beer in the basement?
I don't know, but
Herman, you got to go out and get me hops, Herman.
First of all, the Munsters was such a tremendous TV show. That didn't really even work in the reunion movies that they did. When the show ended and they came back and it was like in color, whatever. They never captured the magic quite of the show. It was a magic place, a magic time when they did it. Al Lewis's grandpa, the magical casting of the right people for everything. I don't know. This is just one of those things that makes me want to put my head through a plate glass window, and it's just.
You know what? You're right. When it went color, it lost that magic because it just looked so weird. Because it had this Universal monster movie kind of vibe to it, and once it went to color, you're like, oh.
Yeah, it only works in the context of like the Universal monsters, which no kids nowadays really give a crap about or have any connection to.
They can't even spell Universal monsters.
And at the time, too, it's like one of those things that isn't going to work now. You know, like if you're going to do a show with Archie Bunker right now, the planet would explode. You just can't do certain things and try and bring them to a modern audience. It's like, just come up with something new.
So it wouldn't be a show if there wasn't a reboot or a remake to piss us off. Okay, so we all know about another reboot that's happening, the Hellboy reboot. Everybody familiar with that?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, originally it was going to be called Hellboy Rise of the Blood Queen, but they've since gone back to just calling it Hellboy for the time being. However,
real creative.
Yes. However, they have cast the villain or villainess, the Blood Queen herself, and it's I'm going to screw up how you say her name, Mila Jovovich. Jovovich.
I just remember that because on the Resident Evil, I think it was Resident Evil DVD, before she was famous, everybody kept saying her name incorrectly, and she was just screaming her name at people. It was great.
Well, Mila is going to be the villain in this, and we're used to seeing her as the hero or the heroine in those Resident Evil movies, which I've only really seen one or two of.
Oh, you're missing out, man. If you want to laugh your ass off, oh.
See, I had to make a decision. I was going to go Resident Evil or Underworld. I chose the blue pastel colors of Underworld instead.
I chose neither.
Kate Beckinsale is so hot. She was just on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen, and that's maybe the most beautiful woman on earth.
She's from another planet.
That's impossible to look that good in your 45.
I was lucky enough to see Andy Cohen on the street in Austin, Texas.
Did you go mazel?
And I looked at it, I go, who the hell's that guy? I know that guy. And then once I figured it out, I was like, oh, I want to punch him.
And now I've just outed myself as someone who Watch What Happens Live.
Is that the name of the show?
Yes.
Kate Beckinsale can be on anything, and I'll watch it. So anyway, Mila's going to be the villain, and I don't know. I'll give this a shot. Hell, she's cool.
We'll have
Fifth
to.
Element.
We've locked ourselves into watching any sort of direct that comes our way.
Oh no! Once we get to Annabelle, I saw some trailers, and we need to talk because there are some horror movies that I'm drawing a line that I will not watch.
Well, we didn't see that Wish movie or whatever the heck that was. Wish Upon.
True.
We avoided that.
Let's digress. When you guys went to the movies, did you see the trailer for? I think it's called like Happy Death Day.
Oh yes.
The Groundhog Day horror movie.
Yes.
I'm not going to the movie theater and putting money in somebody else's hand to watch that movie.
Is it like Zombievers?
No,
it's actually good.
It is literally Bill Murray's Groundhog Day as a horror movie.
Yeah, I saw the idea of it and I was like, oh Jesus. I actually thought the trailer wasn't terrible, but I'm not interested in it, but the idea is just
I got no problem watching it on television, but I will not go to a movie theater, be the only person. And, meanwhile, like something like Dunkirk is next door and going, I can't believe I'm here watching this instead of.
No, I get it. I'm drawing the line at the new Saw movie. Like,
amen. Because that was the other trailer I saw. And I was like, I gave up on Saw movies. Like, I don't even know if I saw the second one.
Well, so we don't have to see it?
All in favor of not watching Saw, say aye.
Aye. Thank God.
Yes.
Well, you know what? That comes out in October, I think, and there's like 9 movies coming out in October that are going to be worth watching.
We can have one of our listeners submit a review for us.
Wait, it'll be the first episode we have a call in. Some poor bastard.
Yes.
Saw sucks, so Tim will watch it.
I think.
And love it.
He'll love it, yeah.
This may be the greatest movie ever since Diary of the Dead.
Nice little shout out for that weirdo.
Okay, what did you guys think of the X-Files last season? That when they came back, they had that little show. Was like 6 episodes or something like that?
6 episodes. I loved it, and I thought the ending. Well, that ending left you. You need more.
Did you love it though?
I did. I know you loved that episode with that Kolchak kind of guy.
I love that episode. The reason I ask if you loved it is because I thought it was uneven. I thought there was some really great stuff, and I thought there was some weaker stuff, especially pertaining to the mythology. I thought when they were going that route, it was crap.
It was just like the show was back in the day. So to me, it was perfect.
I'm with you, Jack, and actually I'm with you too, Hunter. It was just like the show, and the show was very uneven at times. So I enjoyed it. I'm definitely going to watch more when it comes out, but there were a couple episodes I was like, I'd like to see the major narrative pushed further a little more than maybe it went. And that ending did not make me happy.
Well, I have good news for me. The next season is going to focus more on standalone episodes and less on the mythology. They said that because they had such a long hiatus between seasons. They had to cram a lot of mythology into the last season, and they're not really happy with it. So they must have gotten feedback that the standalone episodes were just better. People don't have time anymore to follow all this. I still, if you ask me what is actually going on in the X-Files, I have no idea.
Chris Carter can't tell you.
Yeah.
You know what would be great if they begin the season, you follow up from that last episode, you end the mythology in that first episode. Bang. There's your answers, and then move on. Just go to another world.
Supposedly they're going to pick up right where they're on the bridge or whatever, and at the end of that last episode, I think it's going to pick right up. So they're going to old characters. Now, remember there was like a young version of Scully and Mulder that showed up for an episode or two.
Yep.
Those two are going to be back as well. I don't have their names in front of me, but I just read that like today. That
I was hoping they'd die, but okay.
I just hope David Duchovny does the thing where he was like tripping and line dancing. That was the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life.
They had fun with that reunion. They definitely did.
Yeah, they did. So I'm happy. I'm happy they're doing that because, like you said, when X-Files was on, it was tremendous. And then there were just some episodes where I was,
When X-Files was on Friday nights, every Friday night was cigars, Chinese food from Calvin's, and brandy. And that was an hour of perfection in my life, my shitty life at that time, every week.
Do you guys remember watching the episode that ended up getting banned? The one with all the incest and the hillbillies? And
that may be the best episode.
Andy and Barney. That's
awesome. One of my favorite memories of watching a television show live. Just watching that thinking, what in God's name is this? How did this get past the censors? Like, what are we seeing?
Yeah.
I didn't see it again for like 10 years.
It's most people's favorite episode for a damn good reason. It was
incredible.
Yeah, when they pull that thing out from under the bed, you're just like, what?
Amazing.
And that's all the news I got for today.
A lot of news.
It's good stuff. I try and sift through the noise and just bring you the good stuff.
Good news and bad news.
There really wasn't anything that made me want to rage. So I'll take
all right.
it. The Munsters thing wasn't great, but
we'll just ignore it.
Yeah, if it even gets off the ground.
Exactly.
It sounds too preposterous.
We'll ignore it the way Jason ignores the cries of a drowning child at the beach. And speaking of Jason...
That was the weirdest dig I think anyone's ever taken at me.
Hey, dude, I'm a writer. I come up with shit.
Did Phil Collins see that you didn't rescue the drowning person and write a song about it?
You can feel it coming in the air tonight. So, Jason, I know that you just had a book come out, which feel free to plug it now or plug it later, but you'd be busy. But I'm sure you frittered away a lot of valuable time watching garbage. So, what'd you do?
I actually watched so many movies that I was going to watch another horror movie last night thinking, give me something else to talk about the show. And then I realized I'd watched like 4 or 5. I'm like, all right, I got to actually watch something that doesn't suck. So I could have had more, but I'll talk about my release right before we get into the main feature or whatever. I need to get away from it for a little while anyway before I start freaking out. So the first thing I watched was probably the day after this last episode went live was the Blackwell Ghost that Jack had mentioned on Amazon Prime.
I did the same thing.
That was, as far as found footage movies go, not even just found footage, that was well done. The guy, it looked, again, like almost a one-man show to an extent. I'm sure it wasn't because it was actually done a lot better, but it was a decent film. I would recommend anyone who's dumb enough to listen to our show would probably enjoy it. It's good stuff.
And the most memorable part of that movie for me was when I tweeted about it, you called me a twat that my kids saw. So that was awesome.
Well, they should.
You did deserve it, though.
And they laughed and laughed and laughed.
Your kids follow you on Twitter?
Of course. We follow each other.
For anyone wondering, Hunter asked, or it hinted in some way that the movie might be real. And I said,
I hope it's real, you dingus.
No, he thinks it's real, and we slapped him into reality.
Whatever. You know what? Nobody's proven it's not real yet, so screw you.
Yeah,
Could be.
Yeah, not the credits or anything at the end, right? None of that stuff on IMDb. Yeah.
To my credit, I didn't stay around for the credits.
I do want to say this movie, when it comes to found footage, a lot of things can really irk me, including the ending. Almost none of these movies know how to end for some reason. It was fine in that regard. It did a good job justifying why the hell somebody's carrying a camera or why something's being recorded, which is one of my biggest complaints about found footage. So it passed the smell test on all those, and definitely worth a watch. That was a good recommendation, Jack.
Yeah, good one, Jack. We all like that. That's our bad Ben. Our new bad Ben.
Yeah, the fact that it was only an hour really helps.
Yes.
Oh, that was great. That was great. Had it gone longer, I think you even mentioned that last week. Had it been longer, I could see it starting to grade a little bit, but it was good.
I like the fact that they get in the airplane like twice, so it makes it feel like he must own the plane or something.
Right,
100%.
The effort like getting in a plane and flying, that made it like feel authentic. They're like, wow.
And did his wife seem like the biggest bitch on earth?
No, I didn't.
No. Oh my God.
Not that I mean, it didn't stand out to me.
To me, it did. Good Lord.
Damn. Let's listen to this misogyny. So
I'm married to a good woman, so I can see a bitch when I find one.
Then I watched a movie called Without Name, which I can't remember if it was on Prime or on Shudder. It was. I'm going to be honest. I don't remember a whole ton of this movie because the pacing did not hold my attention at all. I don't even remember what I started doing while it was on, but it's basically a surveyor goes out into the woods and weird shit starts to happen. There's a lot of very slow zoom ins on tree branches and trees, and there's nothing actually in them. So it was one of those that by the end some things started to happen, but it had lost me. So it could actually be a good movie, just I literally stopped paying attention to it. So somebody tell me I'm an idiot.
Passed out on fentanyl again.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. Could have been the whiskey I've been pounding all week. Then I watched a movie that just came out based on the novel by Brian Smith, 68 Kill.
Ooh, how was that?
It was really cool. I liked it a lot. It is insanity. It's basically this crazy woman and her crazy boyfriend go and rob. She's a whore, so they go and rob one of her Johns for $68,000, and it turns out he knew she was crazy because at the beginning they're having sex and she's kicking the shit out of him and doing all this crazy stuff. But once they go and rob the John, she just kills him and then kills someone else who's in the house. And then they kidnap a third person, and from there it just snowballs. And it's one of these movies that normally I would watch and think this is too much. It's getting too insane. But there's something with the tone of it that it just works. And it's obviously very low budget, but the budget goes far. There's a couple gore effects in it that are like, but then there's a couple that are great. And I enjoyed it. If you're a fan of Brian Smith, again, not having read this particular book, but having read some of his crazy stuff, this totally fits. So I would definitely recommend anybody watch that.
I love Brian Smith, and he's a super, super nice guy who's been through the fucking ringer. So, support anything Brian does.
Well, this is, whether you're trying to be charitable or not, this is worth a watch. So definitely check it out. I think I got that on Amazon Video. I think I rented that. And finally, I watched a movie called The Triangle, which I also believe I found on Amazon Video. And it's a found footage documentary kind of thing. I don't know how we keep watching these mockumentaries. This is like week after week after week. We're watching these.
But we're finding quality ones, or quasi-quality.
So this one is what I wanted to get into a little bit, but I'm not going to go too long. I loved the vast majority of this movie. It had me. I was in. It's about a cult up in, I want to say Montana, somewhere up there. I don't know. All those states blend for me. It's a cult up there, and one of them is friends with some guys. I think they went to college together or something, some filmmakers in California, and it starts with them getting a postcard from him saying, I need your help. If you can't make it, then consider this a goodbye, something like that. And they drive up there, and they're filming a documentary, and they're going to film a documentary on this cult, and it's basically this group of people who've gone up in the middle of nowhere. They want to be away from everything, no cell phones, none of that stuff. And they're basically just living off the land. They've got some luxuries. They have a generator they'll use occasionally, but for the most part, they're just doing their own thing. But it's not super weird cultish. Everyone's not banging each other. There's not one guy who's, screwing everyone's wife. And it was done really well. It was shot really well. The acting is great. And in the credits, it looks like everyone just used their real name, which kind of makes me wonder how much, if this was like loosely scripted and a lot of the dialogue was natural, because it really works. The problem is there's a couple problems. One is they use split screen constantly. Constantly is probably not the right word. Too much. There's one video from a camera, one here, and at one point I think they were doing 3, and it was just really pulling me out of it. It was really annoying. I don't know why they made that decision in editing, but it didn't work. And then there's another sequence where they all get really high, and it's edited really bizarrely, like the camera's tripping for some reason. It pulled me out of the mockumentary kind of thing. Like at that point, I'm watching this thinking I'm not watching a documentary.
They didn't do the circle camera like in that 70s show when they would smoke.
Yeah.
This is probably worse than that. And then the ending, there was some foreshadowing for what happened right before the credits rolled. But if you want to talk about an abrupt ending where absolutely nothing is explained, that is this movie to a T. And I like ambiguous endings for films most of the time, but you've got to give me something that I can maybe extrapolate out what happened. There's nothing here. So I don't know. If there's a sequel, I would definitely watch it, because I know it just sounded like I ragged on the movie a lot, but it's only because I liked it so much that there were 3 things that really bothered me. But I don't know if these guys are regular filmmakers, if this was their first thing. I didn't get that far into it, but they did a great job for the most part. So
I'm checking it out.
That was The Triangle.
So would you recommend it or not?
Oh, for you guys, 100%. For most other people, I don't know, because that ending I think is going to piss a lot of people off. And the rating I think on IMDb was maybe 4.9, something like that, which is pretty low. And in the first hour, I didn't understand why. 'Cause I was thinking, this is really good. And then that ending, I just thought, I bet a ton of people came and just 2-starred this. So,
Would you tell your brother to watch it?
probably, yeah.
There we go. That's all we need to know.
Maybe not
All
my
right.
dad. That's it. That's all I got.
All right, Jack, you're up, brother. Hit it out of the park like Big Poppy.
All right. Well, I only watched a couple of movies. One, I went back and watched The Exorcist III, which
That's
is
the best one.
Oh, I
George
love
C.
that
Scott,
movie.
which I saw that. I don't know what year that came out. Maybe 1991 or something like that.
Patrick Ewing was in that.
Yes. Fabio is in it. So this is 2 weeks in a row. I've seen something with Fabio. He was in Sharknado.
Yeah, that's weird. Oh my God.
So anyway, I vaguely remembered this movie. I don't remember much about it. So I was like, let me pop it on. I think it's on Shudder, if not in Amazon Prime, but I didn't pay beyond my subscription for it. Look, it's okay. Like when you watch it, it's definitely a time capsule for that 80s, 90s horror where like there's some special effects with like there's clearly lights under the floor when something bursts up and a lot of that kind of stuff. And it's a little convoluted with the what's the guy's name who played Wormtongue, who's the killer, Brad Dourif, I think is his name. He's really good in it, but it's very confusing because it's like him and the priest from the original Exorcist are the same person in a cell. There's some really good imagery. It's definitely worth watching.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's a great movie, but I would say it's worth watching.
I don't own The Exorcist, but I own Part 3.
Really?
Because I'm a curator of higher art.
I think it's an amusing movie. The best part of this movie, by far, is angry George C. Scott. If
you ever want to see angry George C. Scott, watch that and Hardcore. Those are like George C. Scott porn and Dr. Strangelove. Those 3.
My thing with The Exorcist 3 that I always recommend it to people is it has probably the best jump scare I've ever seen in a movie.
Yes.
The first time I watched it, I almost shit myself when that happened. It was incredible. So I don't even remember. I don't even remember a lot of the movie. I just remember that jump scene was insane.
it is a perfect, like, if you have a Shudder and you're trying to find something to watch, that's a good one to go revisit. So that's why I appreciate like a thing like Shudder, because I wouldn't want to drop $6-7 to rent that, but to have it be part of my subscription, and just like Netflix, a very enjoyable night of watching. You'll do fine. Again, there are better movies, there are worse movies. It's a very interesting chapter in the whole Exorcist story, so definitely worth a watch. Glad I revisited it, and there's some tremendous moments in it. So
yeah, and it's Gone with the Wind compared to Exorcist II.
Yes.
Oh, the heretic with the locusts. That was awful.
The other movie I watched, I know Hunter watched. It just came out on Netflix, which I'm happy about because I didn't have to drop money to rent it. Is House on Willow Street.
Sharni Vincent, baby.
Now, this is a movie where a group of kidnappers are casing a house and a girl that they want to kidnap for ransom. About 6 weeks after casing the place, they spring their plan into action. They break in. The house is too quiet. They find the girl, the kidnapper. Nobody's answering the phone. The girl's got a weird look to her.
Oh.
Turns out this girl she's like, you guys should just let me go right now before it gets bad. It's going to get bad if you don't let me go. Turns out she is possessed. And so I'll just leave it at that. Like,
the third act goes off the rails in that movie. It's awesome.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying I had a ton of fun with that movie. It wasn't what I thought it would be.
That is, and I'll refer back to this when we're talking about Annabelle. This is a great horror movie, like a Netflix horror movie. It is not the greatest thing in the whole world, but it's a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. It's got over the top, a little bit of gore, a lot of like crazy possessed people, things going down and stuff like that. Again, another good, like, oh, let's check this one out. It doesn't get overly stupid. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's just a fun, again, it's never going to make like your favorite movies of all time list, but it's going to be, oh, that was a good renter. So now that it's on Netflix, it should be like at the top of your queue, because it's for Netflix quality. It's way up there. So go get it. And I love the premise. I think it's a tremendous premise.
I love the premise too.
And those are the only two movies I watched. I did, however, non-horror related. I started watching Ozark, which is that new Netflix show that people are comparing to Breaking Bad. That's got Jason Bateman in it.
Oh, my wife tried it. She hated it.
I watched the first episode. I don't know how many there are. First episode was pretty good. The jury's still out, but
I think she did 3 and bailed out, and she's a big Jason Bateman fan. But I haven't watched it, so I'll try it.
I'll probably get through it before the next show's over, so I'll have an update at the end. But listen, it didn't blow me away, but it also caught my interest enough that I'll watch it again.
Right.
And that's all I got for this week.
All right. Well, I'm going to dive in, and I really want to get into Annabelle, so I'm going to be short and sweet. I'll try. We already went over the Blackwell Ghost. I watched that right after the last episode. My wife and we took, I think it was Wednesday off, and did nothing. We said we're going to watch horror movies from morning till night, and we watched about, I think, 7 in total.
Okay, I saw your watch list. I was like, what in the hell is this?
I was having a damn good time. I was like knocking shit off my list. But I'm only going to talk about 3 today. WNUF Halloween Special.
Excellent.
We were so excited when that started, because I'm like, oh my God. Like, we had our daughter. I called my daughter and I said, you got to watch this. And the whole time we're going, this is what like pays TV, what like local TV was like in the 80s. Oh my God, that commercial looks like those crappy commercials we used to watch. And we liked, the cutaways to the news, and then they do the actual special, and they're obviously ragging on the Warrens and stuff with the haunted house. The commercials got to be such a freaking drag. Oh my God. They took a really cool concept and beat that into the ground, to the point where, because in the movie, sometimes the person who's controlling it will fast forward through stuff, like especially Ed's carpet store commercial. Yeah. That was on like 4 times. But after a while, I'm like, fast forward. And he wouldn't. So it was a cool idea that was killed by this concept of making it like a real TV special with too many commercials. But I applaud them for saying, screw this, we have a concept and we're going to do it no matter what. So I give them credit for that. And it was cool.
It's something I feel like you got to at least see it so you can talk about it. And appreciate the good in it. And then we've all agreed, but they dropped the ball with too many. However, that is what watching TV was like back then. I know. So,
but I should never watch a movie and say there were too many commercials. It just seems wrong.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I said. Was just I wish they'd had a plot device where they said, there's weird things happening in the house. We're going to stay with it as long as we can, and then maybe they just cut to half as many commercials. And honestly, yes. I think I said this last week. I think people would be recommending it like crazy because this is so close to being a classic.
They established the plot device by fast forwarding over stuff, but then chose to say, fuck it, we're not going to use the fast forward button anymore.
That's actually true.
So we're going to get 1 minute in the house and then 3 minutes of commercials, just like when TV is at its absolute worst. But I kind of appreciated they're doing that. The other two movies that I wanted to talk about are Prom Night with the lovely Jamie Lee Curtis. She was quite young, and my wife kept going, my God, she was beautiful. Now, I never really thought Jamie Lee Curtis was beautiful, but she was kind of hot. Prom Night, the first movie, is very much like the movies that all came around 1980 to 1984. It had that Friday the 13th kind of Fred Manfredini music and that vibe and everything, and it's a revenge flick. It's a revenge slasher flick. Jamie Lee Curtis is wonderful in it. That movie, to me, what I always take away from that is when she's disco dancing at the prom. Man, she was smoking. She could move, baby. And it's one of those movies where you don't know who the killer is, who's getting revenge, and all the asshole kids who forced a child to fall out a window and then ran away, like my friends and I would probably do. It's a classic. If you're going to watch 80s horror, and if you want to gather what are the 10 movies that I have to watch to really get a feel for great 80s horror, I think Prom Night is in there. It's one that you have to watch, and it holds up on subsequent viewings. I mean, I've seen that maybe 5 times in the last, holy crap, it's been 37 years.
Oh my God.
Oh, Jesus, I'm old.
Oh, just wait. I wasn't born when that came out.
Yeah, whatever. I saw it in the theater when it came out, and I was too young to see it, but I saw it anyway. So you go from this wonderful movie that encapsulates all the best stuff of 80s horror slashers, revenge flicks. And then you go to Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2. I have no idea why they called this Prom Night 2, other than the fact that there was a prom that took place in it. Because it is so batshit out of control, weird, surreal, stupid. I mean, I understand why they did it, because Prom Night was a success, and they said, well, we're going to make X amount of dollars by just calling it Prom Night 2. But in this movie is just so weird, with Mary Lou dying and then just all these surreal moments, and her spirit is coming back, and it's just so jarring when you watch one after the other, because one is a solid linear, it could actually happen movie, and the other is just so damn stupid you can't believe that they're related.
I feel like I'd read about it somewhere, and it was not a prom night movie, but when they sold it, they were forced to take that name on to make it, like you said, X amount of money.
That totally makes sense, because there is nothing in this movie that even calls back to Prom Night.
Yeah, I think it's like Halloween 3. You need to watch it outside of the rest of the series to appreciate what they're doing.
That makes total sense, because that movie was just weird. However, when you step back and if you say, all right, this isn't Prom Night, it's not related, you can enjoy it for what it is, which is just a strange slasher flick with some boobs. If you give me boobs, it's fine. Prom Night doesn't have many boobs, but has Jamie Lee Curtis in a bra. There's your boob count for the week. So it was great to watch those one after the other. I'll go into some of the other movies next week, but I did read a book like I always do. This one was the latest release by Michael Patrick Hicks, he's a great writer who self-publishes a lot of his work, but he straddles that line. He's also a reviewer, which I never know how guys can do that, because to me, it's hard. If you're a writer, you're counting on people to give you reviews, but if you're reviewing them, if you don't like the book, like, what do you do? He dances the line perfectly. I applaud him for it. This book is so violent, so freaking sick. It's about animals turning on people and people turning on people. Like, it starts out relatively normal with a plane crash, but then it gets so brutal and so gruesome and gory. I may never look at him the same way again. It's awesome. If you ever read My Tortures of the Damned, where I have animals turning on people, this takes it to 11 and just goes in places that only maybe Edward Lee, and we mentioned Brian Smith before, maybe those two would go there. So when you get a chance, check out Mass Hysteria. It just came out. It's on Kindle. It's in paperback. It's freaking nuts and worth the read. So that's what I did. So normally, or someday in the future, we'll take a break here and let a sponsor talk. But because no one gives a shit about us and wants to pay us to talk, we're just going to dive right in.
Sponsor myself.
That's
I got
right.
a short story out today in a box set, baby. That's right.
Bring it.
It's called Broken. It's the Asher Benson box set. It's actually, I did want to mention this. I'm glad you said that. I'm releasing it for 3 days only. What's today? The 15th, August 15th. For 3 days, it's going to be 99 cents. So that anyone who's read my series but just wants this new short story that's exclusively in it, you can get the short story. It only costs you $1. But if you haven't read anything or you're missing some of the books, you're basically getting 3 novels and 2 short stories for 99 cents, which means you're bending me over the table. So please at least leave a review. Hopefully you like it.
Bend them over.
That's the
Toss
Asher
salad.
Benson series box set, I think it's called.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
It's got good cover art. It makes my shit look decent.
I can't wait to read it. I also have something to plug. If you go to my Patreon page, patreon.com/HunterShay, next month I'm starting up a new monthly Choose Your Adventure series called Clash of the Cryptids, where you, depending on what level you become a patron, you become part of the story. I'll murder you mercilessly. You can determine where cryptids join in here. You choose where each chapter goes for the next month. So go to patreon.com/HunterShay. Check it out. Great cover by our pal, Jerry Mulcahy. And join in. And if anyone wants lap dances at their homes, Jack Campisi is available at all times.
What tier is that in the Patreon?
For Jack coming to your house?
Yeah.
That's
pennies.
Which is actually the highest level.
He watches jam nickels in his vast deferens.
I don't know. There's plenty of slots still available. I don't know why it's not selling.
Okay. And also, don't forget, everybody, every Tuesday night, we're here live on our YouTube channel. Go to finalguys.com. You can follow us everywhere. We encourage you, please go to our YouTube channel. Go to our what else? What other stuff do we have? We got iTunes. We're everywhere. Rate us, love us, like us. We'll give you stuff. We swear to God. We got some new reviews lately. If you can email me at huntershay1@gmail.com if you've rated us on iTunes, and I will send you a special package, and I'm sure Jason will send you something too, and you can bend them over the table.
Done deal.
Okay. Let's jump into this. Let's jump into this latest from the Wanaverse, Annabelle creation, which is in theaters and has been actually a pretty big hit. It has made already, it came out Friday. Today's Tuesday. It's made almost $40 million and almost $80 million worldwide. It's the sequel to Annabelle, which came from The Conjuring, which came from Ed Lorraine's imagination. So, Jack, why don't you just give us the brief sketch on what this movie is about, since I know you were dying to see it.
First of all, I do the news. Why do I have to be the one to recap the
Just give us
movie?
Look, give us 3 lines.
You're so eloquent.
Can you do anything for this show? It's unbelievable. All you do is come on and say dumb things with your glasses. Anyway,
And I'm drinking. I'm spending a lot of money on this.
here's a recap of the movie. A guy makes a doll. His daughter dies. 12 years later, his wife is locked up in a bedroom. They let a bunch of girls move in to have an orphanage. They say, don't go in this one locked room because something bad happened or something. There's like a ghost or something in the house. And naturally, somebody goes in the room, the ghost gets out, and haunting occurs involving the doll.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
See? I knew you could do it.
Did you just whack your microphone? You seem so enthused. You're just like, crack.
I do talk with my hands, so I did whack it. I got a pen in my hand, too.
All right. So I'm not going to go to you. I'm going to go to Jason. I know that the two of you were reluctant to see this. I was actually kind of a little nipple hard to see it. So, Jason, what'd you think?
I like this movie. I thought it was really well done.
Oh!
Really, really well done. This dude, David F. Sandberg, I think is his name. He did Lights Out, and he has a YouTube channel that is the shit. All you guys should check it out. He does a whole bunch of shorts. It's actually how he got the movie Lights Out. He did that short everyone saw with the woman turning a light off in her hallway, and there's a creature standing at the end. And when she turns it back on, it's gone. And when she turns the light off, it's there. And then eventually it's right in her face. Everyone's seen it. It was all over Facebook and YouTube. I just smacked my mic. Man, we're talking like some gay French princes here.
Is that a euphemism?
I've always said that's what you guys are like.
Man,
I was smacking the mic last night.
today it came true.
Shit I put up with.
So anyway, this guy, he got into Hollywood just recently. He did the Lights Out movie, which was really close to being outstanding. It just had a little bit of a, if I recall, the ending didn't quite work for me, or the pacing. I'm having trouble remembering, but I remember liking the scares a lot and liking the way he set things up and the way he uses the camera. This guy's on point. To me, David Sandberg, and his name just completely left my mind. The guy who did Oculus and is doing Gerald's Game. Damn it.
Did you like Oculus?
The Irish guy.
I love Oculus.
Flanagan. Mike Flanagan.
And Mike Flanagan. These two guys, to me, are the two in the horror genre we should all be watching. They're doing unique, new, interesting stuff. And the fact that, in fact, Flanagan is the one who took Ouija, which was a crap movie, and turned it and did the sequel, and he made it really interesting. And now Sandberg took Annabelle, which was a pretty crap movie, and made the sequel pretty interesting. So to be able to do that is impressive. And this movie, I went in with the lowest of expectations, and I was really happy. It had a couple issues that I'll talk about when we get into spoilers, but nothing that made me not like the movie. So I'm thinking, is taking a whiz. So Jack, what did you think about the movie?
Did he really just leave?
I think he's gone.
If he's gone for good, I'm going to be so happy.
It'll be well, you realize the show just went up like 5 notches.
We should really cherish this right now. How are you doing? It's so good to see you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe can I ban him? Let me see. I might be able to.
Could we block him or something? That'd be great. Maybe peace classes. Come on. Oh, there he is.
Oh, God damn it. God damn it.
God damn it.
We were hoping you just left and weren't coming back.
And the ratings just shot right back down.
Look, sometimes the bladder's got to do what the bladder's got to do.
You don't have your little attachment.
Look, you two gas bags could talk for days. You don't need me here.
You don't have the attachment like Smokey and the Bandit when he has it on his leg, so you can pee.
Well, the weird thing is that our good pal Jim had logged on to YouTube, and he was talking. He did a little joke about he was calling to order a catheter, and I'm like, oh God, I gotta pee.
Catheter, yes.
You're not lying. I did start talking about a completely another director and other movies, so I do ramble.
See.
So, what'd you think of Annabelle?
I thought it was the most fun I've had in a movie in a long, long, long time. To me, it's part of this new class. I call these movies Funhouse movies. As Above, So Below, for me, was the first in the new class of Funhouse movies where you go chick, 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 chick up, and then you just dive into the Funhouse and crap just jumps out at you nonstop. We saw it on, I think it was Saturday night. The theater was packed. I haven't been in a theater where people were screaming, laughing, clutching each other, and just saying stuff at the screen. I haven't seen that in I don't know how long. My wife and daughter were freaking out at certain parts. Like, nothing freaked me out, but I'm old and jaded. But when we walked out of there, we were just like, that is, I can't imagine any movie being that much fun nowadays. Because I don't know, movie theaters seem to be so drab lately, and this is in an Alamo where you're not supposed to talk, and I think they just said, screw the rules, have a ball, do whatever you want, and we rocked for almost 2 hours.
Excellent. All right, good night.
What more do you want from me?
That was really weird.
Do you want me to say period?
I would like you to say good night and then hang up, but it's not going to happen, so I'll just keep going.
He's still salty that you came back.
Yeah, just keep it over. I thought we were...
Screw you.
You know, like when the girls in the canoe at the end of Friday the 13th, we've made it, and then this schmuck comes back out of the water.
Look, I had a little too much to drink, but when you come to my house, so do you. So whatever. We all use the bathroom.
I just peed right now. Easy. Okay, so I saw this movie in not a crowded theater, so I could tell that this would have been a better movie. There was a handful of people in there, so we got a little bit of people screaming or, somebody clutching their boyfriend, a little bit of that crowd interaction, but not as much as if it was in a full theater. For me, I felt that this was an okay movie, way better than I expected, because Annabelle, I think, is a pile of crap.
It's not that good. Wait, the first one?
The first Annabelle movie, I think, is one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
It's not that good. The only good scene is when they're in the basement with that demon thing. I thought that was kind of creepy, but that was it.
I don't even remember that because I'm lucky. I pushed that out of my head. I am not a big fan of the Warren's universe movies. I think The Conjuring was okay. I thought it ended poorly.
But they're so realistic.
Yeah. One thing that I will give these movies is that they know how to set up scares. So while I was watching this movie, I saw it on a couple of levels. I said, for me, an old, jaded horror movie fan, this is just a pretty mediocre movie that has some good scares. And as a student of this, I'm watching going, oh, this is really good sound design. Oh, I love the way they set this up. That's creepy. But for me to recommend to other horror movie level guys like us, they'd be like, yeah, it's pretty good. You should watch it. But I wouldn't go out of my way. There's, something like The Devil's Candy is much more interesting and compelling. This is just what you were saying, Hunter. I'd call it a popcorn or a mass production kind of horror movie.
But
so
that's the kind of shit you and I loved so much in the 80s. Those movies, Friday the 13th movies, suck donkey ass. We loved the experience of it, and this replicated that experience, only without the gore.
Right. So that's what I would say is what I think this is more akin to, like, teenagers going in a crowd. Non-horror movie fans are going to be terrified by this movie, and so you're going to have a good time with that kind of crowd. But for the more savvy horror movie crowd, this is going to be junk food. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, there was some really good scenes in that, but there was also some problems with it. So I thought it was, for me, like, okay, fine. As recommended, I'd say, yeah, if you're gonna, it's okay. It's much better. It's probably the best out of this Warren universe movies. Maybe The Conjuring's better than this, but it'd probably be the second best out of Conjuring 2 is a pile of horse crap too, in my opinion. So
see, to me, The Conjuring 2 was a Funhouse movie. The Conjuring is a little more serious. The second one was, again, it was a Funhouse movie where just once it ramped up, boom. But you would like hit left and right. You were like Ali getting belted by Frazier.
Yeah, so that's where I'll start. It's okay.
So it's just okay, or you liked it, you were just a little disappointed? Not that I expect your rating. I'm just trying to see where you're kind of...
For me personally, I just thought it was okay. Like, it came and went, and if I have to, when I sit down and I have to think about the top movies of the year, it probably would make it based on whatever else is in the race. But that doesn't necessarily mean I'll ever watch it again or whatever. At the same time, as if I was a movie critic, would I tell somebody to watch it? Yeah, it's like a fun popcorn movie, but if you're going to start like nitpicking on it, I could nitpick a million things on it. And it's almost like if this was not part of the Warrens universe and had just been a haunted house movie, almost the same price, I think it would have been better.
Sure. So
Okay.
I do want to say, before anybody bows out, before we get into spoilers, which I have a couple more things I want to say before we do. This is a prequel, so you basically already know ish where it's going to go. You might not know who lives or dies or whatever. So even when we get into spoilers, I don't know that we'll actually spoil a ton of stuff. So of all the movies we talk about, this is one you could probably hang around with for the most part. I do want to say, I think I like this better than both of the Conjuring movies. Not maybe by a ton, but I think if I was going to sit down and watch another one of these four, I'd probably watch this one. I'm
right with you.
And you know, I'm exactly where you are, Hunter, when you said that you were never really scared, like a real good scare that made you jump. I never had that feeling, but I really loved the setup. He did a lot of stuff with dread. They look away and then the doll's looking at them, which was from the other movies, but he did it in such a way here that it really, really worked for me. And the other thing that really stuck out for me was how good the acting was by all of the kids in this. If there's
That
one thing,
girl, Lulu Wilson, who was in Ouija, the second Ouija movie, oh my God, she is so good.
if you need to resurrect your franchise, call her because she's doing it.
She's The Rock.
Yeah.
She's like 11 years old, and she's got better chops than most people 9 times her age.
She's the Rock of little kids. So,
she is.
If there's one thing that actually aggravates my wife and I were watching movies like this, it's that kid acting can be so bad. Like, it annoys me. It's one thing that Stranger Things did so well, is they got great actors. So when we got out of the theater, we actually looked all these kids up because, first of all, there is one girl who is like boobed up and she's taller than the others. She's gorgeous. And as soon as she came out, I'm like, wait, how old is this girl supposed to be? Because she is not 15. She's like 24 or something.
Right.
So we actually looked all these actresses for the most part. They're all older. I think even the main one is 16-ish, but they all look younger. Yeah.
Talitha Bateman, who played Janice. Yeah, she's a little bit older.
So,
but Lulu's young.
Which one was Lulu? Not the possessed one.
The main girl from Ouija. Yeah, not the possessed one.
Well, how old is she, though? Is 15?
Oh,
she's
like
supposed
13.
to be like 10 or 11.
I think she was
something like
12 when she shot it. So she's little.
Okay, so anyway, well, look it up while I'm blathering on about other movies.
However, good
Yes,
acting in some places, but they wasted Miranda Otto and the lead guy. I forget his name.
Anthony LaPaglia.
Yeah, I mean they those were two wasted people. They did not have much to do in that movie.
Yeah,
I
I don't
wasn't
think that
thrilled
ever
with what
occurred
they
to
did
me,
with him.
really. I was more looking at just the kids. I'll turn it over to you guys, too. Just one more thing on the casting. How the hell every one of the girls and the mom and the nun, these are like some of the most beautiful people you're ever going to see. I'm like, I'm looking at these kids. I'm like, Jesus, these are going to be gorgeous adults. Like, what? Who the fuck cast this? Like, well done.
Joss Whedon.
Now we know what Jason looks for in a horror movie.
I knew as soon as I said that you were going to go that angle.
Good-looking kids.
They were pretty girls, man. They were. I mean, even the mom, I don't know how old she was. I'd seen her in other things. I couldn't think of her name.
Miranda Otto.
Beautiful people. And then you have the dad. It's like a fire plug.
Yeah, Anthony put on some weight there, but he's great. It just I agree they didn't do much with him, but he's usually awesome in everything he does.
Miranda Otto was in the Lord of the Rings, and she was in the latest 24 series. You've seen her in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. So why don't we get into spoilers now, since we're coming up towards the end of the episode? You know, when they take the hook and jerk us out of here. So I'm sure Jason wants to spoil the crap out of this. We'll let him go since, you know, he's already on a roll.
There's not a whole lot I actually want to spoil. I just wanted to say at the beginning, there is a scene that happens. I'm not even going to say it now. I mean, you know it's going to happen. Just the way they do it and when they do it is what I really don't want to spoil. That lets you know that everyone in this movie is in danger, because it's probably 15 minutes in, and
are we in spoilers or not?
We are.
What scene
But
is that?
I don't even know that I want to spoil this. I just don't want to spoil when, because you know it's going to happen if you've seen the trailers. But damn,
We're now talking to people who have seen the movie, so
Yes.
you can say it.
I'm watching the viewers and people haven't left. But okay, when the girl dies, I just won't say how. How's that? It's shocking.
Right.
You know it's going to happen, and it's like watching Pet Cemetery. You know
Yeah,
it's
when
going
she
to
gets
happen.
hit by the car.
Oh, damn. That was rough. Thanks, Jack. Son of a bitch.
That was so close. Like, you
Spoilers.
almost saw it actually happen. That was rough to watch, man.
That was very
The whole
rough.
theater went bananas when that
That
happened.
was the closest thing to a laugh this movie had. This movie was sorely lacking humor.
You wanted to laugh at that scene?
Yeah, that kind of the comedic, like,
You had to hear the laughter going on. I think people were laughing because they were so nervous when I watched it.
That was horrible. So the one thing I did want to say was that scene really set up the tension for the rest of it, because the way they did that, you're thinking every one of these kids is in danger, because this movie doesn't give a shit about killing kids. My issue was that they didn't. Like, it sounds insane for me to say, but I feel like more people shouldn't have made it to the end than did, and then there would have been a little more feeling of tension throughout. Towards the end, when everybody kept surviving these crazy encounters, I was like,
It was
That's
batshit nuts. You know what part I loved? When the girl who had the polio was stuck on that freaking acorn stair lift going up and down the stairs. And when she just suddenly got sucked straight up into the sky, I jumped. There were 2 times when I actually jumped in my chair, and that was one of those times.
oh, shout out to the dickwad in the movie theater whose phone started ringing during that scene when there's no sound or music, and they let it ring the whole way to voicemail. I want to thank you
Oh
for
my
that.
God. We had a guy who kept making comments, and at one point some guy goes, "You're fucking tripping on meth, fucker."
Jeez.
So loud. And then we were all cracking up. It was just, I'm telling you, it was like one of the best experiences I've had. Old school.
that's the best way to see this movie, the way you did it with a crowd. One thing I alluded to earlier was this guy, he did Lights Out. The craft in which he makes the movie, the sound was used really well. They set up scenes. So, like, there was one scene where the doll sort of blurred in the background, and it kind of does some stuff, but it's blurred out, so you just see it moving. The guys crafted, well, like the scene with the chair that goes up the stairs, same thing. Like they walked in and they sort of introduced all the stuff to you. You'd be like, okay, here's the staircase. Clearly something bad's going to happen. Oh, you can go under the staircase. Clearly something. Oh, there's a barn with a scarecrow. So they walked. They gave you a tour, and said, okay, now we're going to have fun with all these different things. And they went one by one. Now some of them really paid off, and some of them there's like a thing with a pop gun that was a little bit forced.
I love the popcorn,
love
the
that,
pop gun
yeah.
part. That to me was like the Conjuring with that clapping game.
But that's why I just felt like, okay, here we go. This is they've got to do this thing again.
Right.
Again, and I kind of felt like what you're saying about nobody dying. There just came a point where I was like, all right, get to this. Like there was a feeling like in the middle of that movie that they were just keeping things going to make the movie a certain length, and they could have cut to the chase a little bit. There was a little bit of unnecessary, like, oh, they're doing this again with no payoff. They're doing this again. But there were some great moments in it, but just a little bit here and there. I was like, all right, let's get to this.
Look, when that half-split mom was crawling up that dumbwaiter for the girl, that had people losing their shit in the movie. Even I was really tense in that, because this is a woman who has no lower half, who is flashing between that and a demon, going after like a 12-year-old girl in a dumbwaiter. I thought that the tension in that was awesome.
Oh, so the filmmaker commented regret on one scene. And again, we're in spoilers, so you if you haven't bailed now. So there's a
Scarecrow?
scene where the no, it's when the little girl ghost turns around and goes, "Your soul."
I hated that.
And
Yeah.
he said in retrospect, it was such a ripoff of Evil Dead that he wishes that they had done that differently. I was glad to see him say that because I was like buckled over laughing when I was like, wow.
But went against everything else in the movie that was slow build up, and this was just like right in
Yeah, it
your
was very
face.
out of place.
Yeah.
It was and it wasn't, because they just kept doing this. It was just escalating madness where anything went, just throwing everything at you. So they threw that in there. It didn't hit, but whatever. It was fun.
I did want to say, Jack, one thing you were kind of saying, we were going back and forth on the people dying thing. The one part I really thought they could have taken it to the next level that maybe would have made you like it a little more. I don't know. You tell me what you think. The Scarecrow scene, I felt like didn't have a payoff, and the Scarecrow just disappeared. And that was one of the things I wanted to complain about. So what the hell happened to the Scarecrow? She gets out of the barn and it was just gone. Had that boobed up 38-year-old died in the barn at the Scarecrow's hands, do you feel like that would have ratcheted it up more? Because
Yeah, I think so.
You just wanted to see him pull her shirt off.
Yeah.
They
Did you
could have
see
done that
chick?
too.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, that was actually one point when I thought, man, I feel like this would have been a good spot to again show no one is safe here.
I also kind of thought the two little girls that you talked about, the girl in the wheelchair and the other girl were very good. I thought a lot of the other characters were pretty generic, and I didn't care about them that much. So I thought that they could have infused a little more humor into this, or a little more, I don't know, character into it. I thought this movie just was really, like, the story didn't really matter. And again, it's a popcorn horror movie, so I get it. The goal is to get from scene to scene.
That's what horror was actually made for. Horror wasn't initially made to really make you think.
Yeah, but there's movies where they flesh out, like even Night of the Creeps. The kid with the crutches had a really distinct personality, so he stood out. Those girls.
You don't think this girl stood out? Oh my God, I was aching for those kids, and there come the dogs. I was aching for those kids. My wife and I wanted to adopt them, even knowing they're actors. And when she says at one point, when she really can't walk, she says, "No one will ever adopt me now." My heart. That's coming from a guy with kids, and
You're a real
I have a heart.
bag. Oh, I was so scared when
I have a heart.
Dumb
You
lady.
sons of bitches. I have a heart. Believe it or not.
You do not have a heart. I heard your Spider-Man review. Piece of crap. You
Spider-Man-
don't have a heart.
Spider-Man sucks.
Yeah, I thought you hated stuff for kids, man. This is
I hate
completely
stuff
unneeded.
for kids, but I love kids.
This movie was for kids. That's what I thought.
Oh, really? No, I didn't think that at all.
I thought it was for anybody that has just a little bit of love in their heart and fun and excitement. Not somebody who's, crusted over, filthy, dirty, living at home alone. So,
Says the guy with the kid toucher sunglasses on.
these aren't kid touch sunglasses. Kid gave them to me.
Is that Freedom Rock?
All right, guys. So,
I did have one more thing I wanted to
oh
bring up.
God, Jesus.
It's 5 seconds. We've got all my other complaints.
I got something else to say too.
I had a couple
Jesus.
complaints.
Hurry.
My one was basically the whole crux of the movie kind of bothered me a little bit. This horrible thing has happened in this house. Horrible stuff. And now let's bring a bunch of little kids in here.
Yes.
That really bothered me. It felt like that could have been explained away a little better.
You've never lived in my house.
Well, I mean, look how screwed up you are. That's what I'm saying. This could be avoided.
Screw it. Life is about adventure and experience.
So that bothered me. That was it.
All right, Jack, what's your thing? Hurry.
At the end of the movie, they showed a Raggedy Ann doll, which
was
the
great.
real Annabelle is a Raggedy Ann doll.
Right.
And I got so excited. I was like, oh. And then it kind of came and went. And
Yeah.
it got the tying it to the new movie, or the original Annabelle movie. When all that crap happened, they're trying to like Marvel Universe this whole thing, and it went from like kind of interesting to forced. And did
Right.
you stay for the after credits?
Yes. Yeah.
So in the mid credits, Annabelle's just they show the doll and the head moves real quick, and then at the very very end, you see the nun walking down a hallway which they alluded to in a photo earlier in the movie. So they're really trying hard with this shared universe thing, which a shared universe for this ghost stuff makes more sense than a lot of the other ones they're trying to do. But I would love to see them like leave Annabelle alone now. Take the same. Let's see what they can do with the nun. Leave the Warrens out of it. Leave Annabelle out, and just go do some other stuff. It can be in the same universe.
I think they're done with Annabelle, but they ain't done with the Warrens. There's lots of ways to go with them.
I do think it's interesting that you didn't like the Raggedy Ann doll in it.
No, much. I did.
Oh, yeah.
I got excited. I was disappointed. Okay. I would have liked Annabelle better if she was a Raggedy Ann doll the whole time.
It's almost like they apologized, going, "We're sorry we made this stupid freaking doll that no kid would ever touch. So here's what it really looked like." I think that's what that was like.
But then what happened was they went into connecting it to the original Annabelle movie, like in that really fast wrap up.
Yeah.
And I liked this. What I liked best about this movie was it felt like a standalone movie with just a couple of references, and then right at the end they sort of jam packed like the tie-in that
you made it come full circle.
I didn't lose any sleep about it, but like I thought the movie was the best, and I understand they were trying why they did it. But for me, I hated the first Annabelle so much that I was just like, oh.
Yeah, what's funny is when this was over and they tied it in, I remember saying to my wife, this almost makes you want to go back and watch the beginning of the first Annabelle again to see how well it tied in. And then I remembered what I thought of the first Annabelle, and I'm not going to do that.
You stopped. Good man. All right, so how would you rate this movie, Jack?
I think this movie's okay. I would not recommend seeing it in the theater unless you can see it in a crowded theater with a lot of people. If you can do that, it'd be a lot of fun. I would also say if it was a rental, like if it's on, it's worth checking out. It's only okay. Like I think if the more hardcore horror person, it's fine, but it's not going to be something that it's not a game changer. It's like just another that was a pretty good rental. I watched that. Had some good scares in it. So I'd say worth watching, but no need to run out to the theater. But watch it with other people.
Jason,
I say watch it in the theater. Mine wasn't packed, and it was kind of a small theater, which I don't know what was going on at the Regal I was at, but I liked it, even though there was a woman maybe 2 rows back playing Candy Crush for about 10 minutes with the sound on. But I like this movie. If you hated the first Annabelle, don't write this off. It's got a couple issues that I talked about, but nothing that really pulled me out of it too much. I really like it. I think David Sandberg is definitely a force in the genre now. This is 2 movies in a row of his that I thought were really close to getting to a super high level.
Isn't he a saxophone player that used to be in Letterman all the time?
Sure. Okay, I will tell you, run out and see it. It's the most fun you're going to have at the movies all summer, maybe all year. And the bigger the crowd, the better. I'm interested to see this when it comes out on VOD or on Blu-ray and just watch it home alone. But if you can see it in the theaters now, go out and just have a freaking blast. Don't even think about the first one at all. Just go in there with a clean slate and just have a pisser.
This is a great movie for teenagers to like have a co-ed, watch a movie, and get to snuggle with the girl you like, kind of like that'll be a good like Halloween party movie.
Definitely.
All right, so that does it. It turns out this wasn't a total crap fest because I was worried I might be the only one who would like this movie, but it's not the case. So thank you for tuning in. As always, finalguys.com. If you love us, rate us, subscribe, do whatever you got to do just to show us your love, and we'll show you love back. And until next time. Oh, and the next movie we're going to see, I forget what it is. What is it? What are we watching next week?
We're going to watch Raw.
Raw, that's it. The French movie Raw. And it's not about the WWE Raw. This is about chicks eating people. So check it out, VOD, and join us next week, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, finalguys.com. Good night, everybody.
Keep kicking, Ric Flair.
Woo!